We are clearly a state divided between the large and dense urban areas such as Portland and the rural, lesser populated areas such as those represented by my House District 2. I fully recognize the challenges faced by the large urban centers where the average person is being priced out of the market. I fully appreciate the challenges managing large urban growth projects, which tend to drive up residential prices and challenge the idea of housing affordability. But, Madam Speaker, I cannot support legislation such as Senate Bill 608, rent control, that are so obviously slanted towards the unique needs of Portland metropolitan area and so silent on the needs of rural Oregon. While in the large urban areas, they have shiny new high-rise options with even higher rent demands, the rural areas suffer with limited rental options and very little new construction. In rural Oregon, we do not suffer from overly priced housing options, but rather we suffer from a lack of incentives for development of new houses. In rural Oregon, our home prices and rents are artificially high due to the lack of availability rather than overeager developers. The overwhelming communication from my district is against Senate Bill 608 and rather continues to call upon this body to reduce the regulatory burden on the developers and create incentives for multi-family housing units. With permission, I would like to quote from a recent exchange that I had with one of my district members who is very active in the real estate business. Quote, "We need to let the economic forces work as a supply goes up, then rents come down. With the lack of housing, as we are witnessing, rents go up. In 46 years I have been in the real estate business, I have witnessed over 7 recessions which adversely affect market rents. You have to let market dictate. In Roseburg, there have been no, I quote, no new construction from a private developer since 2008. The only new construction occurred from NeighborWorks, a quasi-governmental agency, because they get federal and state grants to help them. Plus, many of the rents they receive are paid by some sort of governmental program," end quote. I support the work being proposed by the governor's housing policy advisor and the governor who advocate for regional solutions. We have a housing crisis across this great state, but it's not one that can be fixed with a one-size-fits-all solution. It will only be increased with SB 608 and any other legislation that deems to be the unique needs of Portland metropolitan areas as representative of the entire state. I stand before you today and ask that we develop housing solutions and legislative authority that is created, managed, and overseen by regional entities representing the unique needs of our state. In closing, if Portland metropolitan area or any other large metropolitan areas need this rent control legislation, let us encourage them to pass this at a local or a county level. We do not need, do not want, and believe that this legislation will harm the great citizens of Southern Oregon. I will vote no on this piece of legislation, not because the problem isn't real, but because the solution is limited to only a small geographic part of the state. I urge a no vote.